Go!
Whoa! Whoa!
Greetings to you.
Why do you work for the miller?
Well, how can I put it? Anywhere else, they'd have kicked me out by now. The miller's the last person who'd still give me a job. He says every idiot is of some use at least.
And you see that as a compliment?
I see a coin in my hand every week. That's all I care about.
What did you do before you started working for the miller?
A bit of this, a bit of that. When I was still a boy, I stirred lye at a tannery, and then I slaved away at a dye house. But since I came to the town, it's been, well, let's say not exactly honest work. But that's what I'm best at, see?
What do you think of Crazel?
Is this some kind of test or what? I can think what I want, and I keep my opinion to myself. And you ought to do the same. See you soon, my friend.
Good afternoon, sir.
I'm Henry, Miller Crazel's new apprentice. He sent me to search for a niter pit and said you might be able to help me with that.
Of course I will. I'm Bonnie. Nice to meet you.
Bonnie? It's not a name I hear often.
It's not the name I was baptized with. In our craft, it ain't a good idea to tell people your real name. That's why we use nicknames. What should we call you?
The Wolf of Skalitz.
Well, that's not very creative. You know what? I'll come up with a nickname for you myself when I get to know you better. Did you bring me something from the mill?
Actually, Crazel said you'd appreciate some herbs.
He's right there. Do you have some for me?
I've got something here.
My word, that's exactly what I need. The ingredients for the magic ritual.
What kind of magic ritual?
The kind where Zenek finally gets some sense into his head and stops making stupid beginner's mistakes. Just so you know, that mess with the author of Hermes Trismegistos would never have happened to me. Not me. While we're on the subject of rituals, did Crazel tell you about the golem?
He did.
And what do you think of it?
I'm curious to see what a golem made of flour will look like. But I'm mostly curious to see if Crazel will really be able to breathe life into it with the help of saltpeter.
I'm more worried that as soon as it comes to life, it'll slay us all with one blow. So, if by some chance it looks like something's going wrong, you won't see my heels for dust. And I suggest you do the same. But that's enough of that. We're not going to stand here talking about flower golems when we've barely just met. I'd like to chat with you too, Henry. Get to know you a bit. But if you're in a hurry to find Crazel's saltpeter, I won't keep you.
No. I have plenty of time. But where to start?
You know what? I'll start. When they caught Zenek in Troskovitz, I was scared out of my mind that they'd catch me and clap me in the stocks. I had to hide out here for a while, so I haven't had anyone to talk to. Life in the lair isn't all fun and games. Zenek and all the other mill knuckleheads were never worth much as company. So I'm glad the miller's finally found a normal hand for once. You've got a beautiful dog. What's his name?
Mutt.
What a cute fella. How did you find each other?
He belonged to this girl I knew, Teresa. She saved my life in my hometown, Skalitz, when I went to bury my parents.
Well, that's what I call an interesting past. I used to have a dog, but I don't anymore.
He died.
He started getting these lumps all over his body. He stopped eating, just slept all the time. And then, well, what's done is done. And what about you? What kind of family are you from? Also, thieves?
No. Pa was a blacksmith. I inherited something from him, I hope.
Oh, really? Would you teach me how to make, maybe, barrel hoops?
Those are pretty hard. Wouldn't you rather start with, maybe nails?
Sure. I'm pretty quick to learn and patient. That is, with one exception. When Crazel starts spouting off his alchemy theories, I'd rather run for the hills. What do you think of the old miller, anyway?
He seems awfully mystical. He has lots of experience, like as if he's lived for hundreds of years.
It's his beard that does that. Don't let it fool you. Thanks for talking to me. It really is good to have someone to pour my heart out to. But now, about that saltpeter. Before you came, and before Zenek fucked up with the manuscript, we collected saltpeter all over the place, mainly in sties. It has to be scraped from the walls. Horrible work, time-consuming and annoying. I'm not going to lie to you. We also looked in a few chests, just in case. You know. Anyhow, now all the styes in the region are scraped clean and we're sitting pretty on a nice barrel of saltpeter.
Barrel is quite a lot.
For the whole Trotsky region, aye. Unfortunately, Crazel said we need at least 6 times as much.
6 times? Will one saltpeter pit be enough?
I reckon so. There should be as much as Crazel needs for his masterwork. If you're looking for it, you ought to know how saltpeter forms. Do you have any idea?
Certainly. Well, you take a chunk of salt and pray to St. Peter to miraculously transform it.
You won't find it any joking matter soon enough. Don't forget that saltpeter crystals are formed in places where something is rotting. It can be shit or carcasses. Well, a saltpeter pit is actually nothing more than a mass grave, the best natural saltpeter maker.
Crazel said saltpeter is a vessel for life energy. I get it that it's left over from dead bodies, but how do you get it from shit?
God's mysterious ways. You know how it is.
And he also wanted me to taste it. That's nonsense, though, isn't it?
Unfortunately, it isn't. Otherwise, you won't know if it's saltpeter or some other shit. It feels kind of cold on the tongue.
Jesus. And you know where to look for such a pit full of carcasses, do you?
Not exactly, but I have an idea. Times are evil and there's plenty of corpses. A person who's digging holes and throwing dead bodies into them and doesn't even know he's got a a saltpeter mine.
The local gravedigger?
Exactly. And the one we have here in the region is also the knacker.
Oh, I haven't met him yet. Where can I find him?
The cemetery is beyond Troskovitz, towards the Apollonia rocks.
So I'm in for a walk to the cemetery.
Seems like it. Too bad you couldn't have walked around the county with us before. It was fun, and pretty useful experience. I learned a lot during that time, and I won't keep it to myself. I'd be happy to teach you something, if you want.
I'll keep that in mind.
That old gravedigger will be suspicious, so I'd bring him some kind of offering. He's always dragging those carcasses, so I'm sure he'd appreciate a slab of fresh meat from Troskovitz butcher.
Good idea.
He lives a short way from the cemetery, so at least the meat won't go bad on the way. Lots of luck, the Wolf of Scarlets. God be with you.
I'd like to learn something.
What would you like to know?
What did you do before?
I got by any way I could. Believe it or not, I started in a convent.
You? A nun? Well, why not? I was in the cloisters myself for a while.
Oh well, different people have different fates. But we all ended up here anyway, in the armpit of the world.
Why do you work for the miller?
Because he pays well, and don't care how much coin I make on the side.
You mean by stealing?
And he doesn't ask any stupid questions.
What do you think about Crazel?
You're another one of those that don't know if they should love him or hate him, eh? Crazel is his own man. Once you learn to get along with him, you can't help but admire him a bit. But sometimes, he's unbearable as soon as he opens his mouth.
What on earth are you doing here?
Nothing.
What's with that hole there?
What about it?
You've got a body in there, haven't you? Admit it.
I ain't got nothing in there.
Then what are you up to here?
Look, I mean no disrespect, but I ain't having the best of days. So, thanks for stopping by, but no need to tarry for my sake.
Is there anything I can do to help?
I think not. But thanks anyway.
Come now. You surely won't turn down a helping hand. What is it you're up to?
You're a stubborn one, aren't you? But all right then. Listen up. I'm Bolek.
And I'm Henry.
See, what I'm doing here is... How do I... Sakura. How to explain this? Well, it's just... The hand of God dragged me here to look for the Holy Grail.
And what is this Grail?
The Grail! Christ's chalice!
I don't know about that.
The cup that Jesus and his disciples drank from at the Last Supper. He served them wine from it, and his blood flowed into it when they nailed him to the cross. The greatest relic of all time.
Ah, I see. And why in God's name did you think something so precious would be here of all places?
Because I met this old monk the other day. He wasn't entirely right in the head. He kept muttering to himself and looked the worse for wear. Not a pleasant sight, but I felt sorry for him. So I shared some wine and a piece of bacon with him, and he gave me a parchment with writing on it.
You can read?
Of course I can't read. I don't have time for that kind of tomfoolery. But I know a scribe over in Kuttenberg, and he read it to me. And what it said near knocked me on my arse.
Let me guess. Something about the Grail.
Aye! That filthy scrap of parchment described exactly where the chalice of Christ was hidden.
Seriously?
Well, I mean, not actually exactly. It was more like a bunch of verses, but it's a great clue.
Really? Do tell.
You think I'd let you in on it?
And what are you going to do when you find the Grail?
Well, then I'll have it, won't I?
They'll come after you. Word will get out that you have it. If you're lucky, they'll offer to buy it for a pittance. If you're not, they'll cut your throat while you sleep. How long do you think you'll last?
I hadn't thought of it that way.
Now, if you tell me what you know, I'll introduce you to people who'd happily give you a castle filled with gold in exchange for the Grail. And I'll make sure you live to enjoy it.
You might be right. I could use a partner who knows his stuff. All right, listen. The monk gives me this parchment and it says, "From two magical mountains, gazing to the heavens. Like a thirsty pilgrim I tread the trail. Across the verdant valley to Land's End. There shall I drink from the spring that will not suffer my breath to fail."
Let me see that parchment.
Here. Can you make anything out of it?
It looks like it's been torn out of a book.
I hadn't thought of that.
Part of the rhyme might be missing. Or maybe there's a map to go with it.
Of course! A map! Why didn't I think of that?
Are you all right?
I might know who has the map. 1,000 thanks, Henry. You can keep that parchment. You've been a big help.
Well, good luck then.
Farewell.
quick! Ka!
What do you need, sir?
I'm looking for a friend. He's called Capon. I'm sure you'd recognize him. In fact, you saw us both in the pillory, didn't you?
Aye, I saw you. But I ain't bothered, you know. You didn't rob me. Because if you did, I'd cut your thieving hands off on the spot.
Well... What about my friend? Have you seen him since?
He must be some friend if he scarpered without you, eh?
I'm sorry, but that's not your business, is it? Was he here then?
No, he weren't. But I ain't saying I don't know anything. Just that it ain't your business, lad. And don't try anything on me. My business ain't your business. Got that? If that Capon wants to see you, I'm sure he'll find you. He ain't no fool, I reckon.
What do you have for sale?
Thank you, sir. And come again.
God! God!
Greetings, my friend.
I'm Henry. And you must be the local gravedigger, right?
Ignatius, master of the sod, at your service. Looking for a final resting place? You need to bury a dead goat? Or are you tired of life and need a noose?
None of those things. I was just passing by. What's new around here? You must know of every dead soul.
The living and the dead. I could write a book about it if I knew how. Or if the scribe in Troskovitz was in a mood to listen to me for longer than one afternoon.
Do you know what happened with the bodies from near the pond? Tankard, Conrad.
Who?
Well, you wouldn't know their names. A couple of soldiers that fell there. Where are they buried?
Oh, I remember them. They all ended up in a pit together right by the cemetery. All I got was a yellow waffen rock for the effort. Getting them out of there was a grind. They was well fed. You could tell right away they was from better parts than this here county.
Yeah, you're right. They're a long way from home.
Not to worry. Earth is earth, wherever it is.
Are you and the herb woman related? You both look... well, really old.
We're not related. We both got some years behind us, and we both unclean in our own ways. That's all we have in common. Different herb women came to me from time to time for hangman's nooses or nails from the gallows. What they do with them is their own business. I'm just a trader. But Bozhena ain't like the others. She's an honest herb woman who only heals with herbs and prayers. Do you know why they chased her out of town?
I do. On account of Yakesh's son.
There's a place called Not Even by Accident, like Bozhena did with Yarushek.
Well, I don't think I'll be going into the midwifery trade, but I get you. I had to dabble in your trade a little bit. Buried a young man from the nomad camp who got beaten to death by woodcutters.
I know. Don't think I didn't try to get him for myself. He wasn't baptized, so I couldn't bury him in the cemetery. But he deserved a good place in the ground nonetheless. It gave me a terrible itch. I can't stand unfinished work. The damned woodcutters left him there like a solstice decoration.
I buried him in his favorite place.
You did well. Don't hesitate to bury any other corpses you find left unburied. You have my blessing. I can tell right away if a fella understands an honest trade.
How's life treating you, Ignatius?
A lot better than it's treating my customers, I must say. Come to think of it, the only thing that pisses me off is that once I kick the bucket, there won't be a single experienced gravedigger to put me to rest. I, the shoemaker's children, go barefoot, as they say. All the young folks these days care about is making coin. Nobody's interested in the honest trade of grave digging anymore.
You got a big cemetery here. Pretty nice, too.
Ain't it? But being the gravedigger, I'll never have a place of my own here. They'll throw me by the wall like a dog and bury me without ceremony. But when I'm dead, I won't care. If it was up to me, I'd even bury the suicides in hallowed ground. We're all equal before death and the Lord. This game of better and worse places of final rest don't count for nothing.
What's the story with the dead people?
The story? They're dead. What more is there to tell?
But you said there's been a lot of people dying around here recently, right?
Well, it ain't usual for people to get offed by the cartload out here in the sticks, if you ask me. What do you reckon?
I don't know. Hadn't really thought about it that way.
That might be the reason, then, hey?
What?
Look, I'm not suggesting anything. I'm just saying there's a lot of people dying. If things keep up like this, I'll be out of work in no time. There'll be no one left to bury.
Being a gravedigger must be a lonely job, eh? What are your duties?
Funny a young lad like you is so interested in grave digging. Not something you see every day.
Well, I'm only asking. No real reason.
That figures. Youngsters these days wouldn't know hard work if it bit 'em on the arse. It's no wonder I can't find any help.
Are you offering me a job?
No. I'm giving you a warning. You ain't cut out for this trade.
And how do you know that?
You've got that look. I can spot it a mile away.
Could you be more specific?
You just aren't cut out for it, and that's that. A gravedigger needs passion. A sense of duty ain't enough. It's a service, a labour of love, and the meaning of life all in one, lad.
But seriously, Ignatius, tell me about yourself.
Gravedigger, knacker, snorter's constant companion, and lover of colourful sunsets, all in one man.
You've nearly got more titles than the Emperor himself.
Well, I have been doing it for almost 40 years now. The bailiff pays me well, in coin and sometimes in goods.
Sounds appealing.
Not all that glitters is gold, lad. A gravedigger's got it hard, and so does a knacker. I pick up dead animals on the side of the road. That's the knacker's job. You could say, I have a knack for it. That's why people say I'm unclean. If I had children, they wouldn't be allowed to marry anyone besides an executioner or a gravedigger. It's so ingrained in folk. A fella takes care of things they wouldn't want to handle themselves, and this is how they repay him. Can't even go to the tavern no more.
Have you been a gravedigger your whole life? Have you ever thought of changing your trade?
I did think about it once, if I'm honest. I wanted to be a knacker in Yitchin, but some fool with friends in high places got the job, though he can't even tell a shovel from a spade. That really pissed me off, so I said, fuck it. Why might I want to dig graves for people who don't appreciate my craft?
So you've always been here otherwise?
And what of it? Do you think I get bored here? Not recently, I don't. But I think I told you that already.
I'm not from these parts, and I've seen a few conciliation crosses around here. What do they mean?
The same as where you come from, I reckon. They mark spots where the sins of man came to be regretted later.
That's an interesting way of putting it.
Aye, like when a fella buries an axe in someone's head over something stupid and then comes to regret it. Or if the law sees to it that he regrets it. The sinner then has to erect a conciliation cross to mark the site of his evil deed.
Where does he get the cross from?
Where do you think? From me.
You're in charge of that too? Stone cutting?
I know how to cut a cross out of stone. And what of it? With the soft sandstone around here, it's child's play.
So they're all your work?
I wish. I've only sold 2 or 3 recently. Most of these here are right old. You might find a few stories about them in the village chronicle what's kept at the rat house. All I know is a young fella once jumped off the cliffs near Takoff, and folks say the place is cursed.
Do you know any more stories?
Aye, I do, but I'm not telling you any. I'm not an old fishwife.
Unfortunately, I had to bury both my parents recently.
My condolences, lad.
Thank you. I just don't know if it was done right.
Did you witness their deaths?
Unfortunately, they were killed in front of my eyes.
Oh, I understand that's never easy. But if you closed their eyes and buried them in consecrated ground, you've nothing to worry about.
I dug their grave next to our smithy. We didn't have a church in our village.
Well, that can't be avoided sometimes. Don't let it bother you. As long as you picked the spot with good intentions, that's all that matters. I'm certain their souls went straight to heaven. You needn't worry. You did everything right, lad.
Ignatius, I'm going to need your help.
Of course. How many are there? Where do you want to bury them? Shall we grind the teeth up, or do you want to take them away in your purse?
None of that. I have a different, slightly unusual request. Bonnie from Lower Semine sent me. We're looking for a saltpeter pit.
From Lower Semine? What pit?
A saltpeter pit.
I ain't never heard of nothing like that. What's it supposed to be? A pit to hell?
Yeah, something like that. At night, you hear the cries of tormented souls and catch the whiff of sulphur.
Well, that I can't help you with.
Not to worry. It's actually just a hole with some rotting carcasses in it. These white crystals form in it. And that's exactly what we're after.
You should have said you're looking for the pit I throw carcasses into. What's all this about Salty Peter? I'm going to go there anyway, so I'll take you there.
Really? That was easier than I thought.
Not even a chicken scratches in the dirt without hope of reward, though. You'll help me with something first. I have some collections from some Sletigo farmsteads, and I'd be a fool if I didn't use a helping hand. At least one day I can take it a bit easy.
You want me to help you with your grave-digging business?
Why not? You look like a strong fella. You'll be a good helper.
I have a better idea. You tell me where I can find that pit, and I'll give you a nice piece of fresh meat for it.
I won't say no to that. Show me what you have. Oh, aye, fresh meat. What a feast that'll make. Now, listen closely. That pit of yours lies at the end of a long journey that we'll take together on my wagon.
So you got meat out of me for nothing?
When I see how much you lot in Lower Semine are interested in it, I'm not just going to hand it to you on a plate. But thanks for the meat, and don't worry about a thing. Grave digging is a job like any other. Sooner or later, everyone needs our services. And if it wasn't for us knackers, folk would have to deal with their animal carcasses themselves.
Of course, I understand. I'm just a little worried about what people will say about me when they see me with you. I wouldn't like to lose the honor I've earned as squire to a nobleman.
Don't worry about what people say. They'll only strip you of your honor if you let them. So what then? Shall we take a nice little ride with my boys Snorter and Dragonfly here? Nice and early, at daybreak.
Let's get this over with then.
Didn't you understand me? We ain't going nowhere now. Like I said, be here at daybreak. That's between night and day. Do you understand?
I understand. I'll come at dawn. Go! Go! Quick! Go! Stand still! Whoa! Whoa!
Don't worry. I hear they left again. Nobody's seen them there since that time.
They surely came on account of what Stanislav and Gerda saw.
Without scratching my balls all bloody.
Believe me, them
I'll have a jug of wine.
They're a sign something wicked is going on. Black magic.
Can I spend the night? I'll pay you.
Sorry, sir.
Nah, that doesn't matter. Agreed. I'll pay. I hope that'll be enough.
Good. It was my pleasure to help you, sir.
Who was it? Some vagabond. God rest his soul. And get this, Miller Boschka says he was in the water at least a week, judging by the state of his body. So what? Dumped him into the water. But the river there has a powerful current. The dead man's been floating down the river for at least a week, without anyone noticing. Exactly. And that's not all.
You silly doggy.
The dead man had a gold chain around his neck.
Greetings. Do you need something?
I'll have a look at your web.
That is strange.
Greetings.
Devilish